Sentry Wall or even having the extra slow on the dust. I'm not liking AdmiralBulldog's chances again. This is what I was hoping, like they would wait a little bit longer to pick up his hero and find him something really good, but yeah, I'm already concerned here in the first two.
I think he played Bounty already in the league, didn't he? Like,
yeah.
I definitely saw him play. I can't remember how
I think every
went.
single team pretty much has played Bounty.
Yeah, he's good
at least once.
And we saw EGM play Alchemist, I think, in one of the last games, in fact, of the DreamLeague.
Yeah, I think it's more support Alchemist nowadays. People love him because even though his base armor is not fantastic, he has one of the highest damage outputs of any support hero. You don't go any into Grievous Greed. You just go max stun, max acid spray. And then once you hit 6, it's like, how do you focus Alchemist as a support? Like, how do you justify putting that much effort into killing a hero who really doesn't have that much farm? So
also, doesn't Acid Spray synergize really, really well with Veno's ult? Like, if you
well, they're damage over time abilities, but for the most part, Alchemist actually increases your carry's damage potential pretty heavily.
Okay.
And it's also great for
the
push
armor
because
reduction, right?
yeah, because the area is so big. If you just put it near a tower, it has kind of that March of the Machines effect where you're kind of like, we don't really want to defend on this. So I feel it's quite strong.
Yeah, it's another lane controller. It's another, like you were talking about before with the Venomancer roller, you don't want to walk into that, you don't want to walk into Acid Spray, and you don't want to have the possibility of also having like even an AoE concoction, so you got to split up your team again by doing that while you're also being slowed down by the Venomancer. It's just a stable pickup, but it's also a pickup too that Fnatic, they don't have to give away too much in their strat right now. Like, we're saying support Alchemist because that's what everybody wants to do with it, but there's no reason why Era can't play that, and then Fnatic can throw a curveball a little bit later on in the draft.
It is absolutely possible. I just feel they could be baiting like a carry out from Alliance here as well, because if they pick the carry after the Alchemist and maybe Alchemist doesn't match up great, then like you said, he could just transition into something else. So that opportunity is always there. I'm questioning the Bounty Hunter pick for the same reasons that you are. The hero is not really that great at 5-man Dota, just in general.
Yeah.
And it feels like he can get zoned really easily by even just one support on the side of Fnatic so far. And
it might be okay if Alliance try and do an aggressive trial lane though. So if you put the Bounty Hunter down the bottom lane and give him like a one-on-one matchup with like just a simple Trixi versus Bulldog in the bottom lane, and then go aggressive into the enemy jungle or around that, maybe that's the option for Fnatic.
It's high risk
or Alliance.
Aggressive trial lanes are more predominant than they have been, just because this kind of patch lends itself to aggression in general, more kill gold, tower gold, etc. And it's really nice to be able to get yourself ahead in the early game, but I feel like it's a huge risk, because if you put a Visage tri-lane with any hero right now, because we haven't seen what the rest of the tri-lane's going to be, if that ends up being the case, because we only see one support, you have to be 100% certain that you're going to be able to kill. And if you're up against a Venomancer Alchemist +1, you're never going to get a flat-out win, because if a Gale lands, a hero's going to die.
Yeah.
You're not going to just get out of there clean trades. Now, that's okay for Alliance during the mid-game, once the Bounty Hunter starts getting track. But that's not going to be the case in the laning phase, because he's going to be 1v1 on the other side of the map. So we'll see how they decide to take things out. But we do know that S4 has a spectacular Batrider.
Yes, he does. I was just thinking about Wind Ranger. I was miles away thinking about it, but I'm not going to talk about the name change because I know a lot of people aren't cool about it. I don't think it's terrible, but it could be worse. People always stick her in the off lane on her own, but it's not like she needs to get levels like 6 or whatever.
Hey man, Navi put her mid.
Yeah.
I mean, she's good, but I just kind of think like she could be great in a tri lane, couldn't she? She's got aggression and
there were some lanes, like the old IG used to run Windrunner in aggressive tri-lane mode. Like they even ran, like it was back in the day, was a Coddle ES and Windrunner all together. And you get a lot of range burst damage when it comes from the Windrunner, but you also still want to have your bonus damage. Like you want to get your power shot up nice and quick, you still want to get your shackles to latch up.
A lot of people you see when they chuck them in a lane to get experience because they want to get 6 quickly. You know, like Bounty, you want to get track.
Yeah, but Windrunner never even levels up her
she doesn't
ultimate.
even need it, so it's just kind of, I think you could put her in a tri-lane. But Sand King has had a shit time at this tournament, I'm going to say it.
Especially when Fnatic have played it.
Seriously, I'm curious about this pick. He has just, you know,
Poor No Tail. Like, in my opinion, it's like a waste of his ability to put him on a Sand King. Because
especially if they roamed, like we've seen him a few times, haven't we? Everyone's just like, we'll put Sand King, he runs up and down the map. They buy boots level 1 so he just can catch people and stun. It hasn't worked. I'm curious why they're still doing it. Well, maybe it'll work today.
It could be a dual lane. You never know. I mean, that's the thing with Fnatic, is they have a lot of things up their sleeve. They're very flexible in terms of what they can play. And let's be honest, most teams in the tournament are flexible.
Yeah.
They know how to play specific heroes. It just depends on how comfortable they are with any given lineup. But this still kind of screams aggression from me, from Fnatic, which I think is exactly what they need. Alliance have picked what I would call a punishable lineup because they have a Chen and a Bounty Hunter, whereas Fnatic have a decent amount of counter push so far. They have Power Shot Spam, Sand King can kind of counter push with Burrow Strike, and then you have Acid Spray and Plague Wards. So it's going to be hard for Alliance to really get an early game push going with this type of a lineup.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. But it's just how aggressive, though, Fnatic can be inside the jungle. Like, we know we're going to go into the ward again. We know Alliance is always very good at keeping vision of everything. Like, Akke and EGM, well, maybe not EGM, you say it's for Orchid. But Akke will just burn through those wards and see Fnatic at every single turn. I'm interested to see exactly what Fnatic's going to do. If this is like a full-on aggression from them, if they do want to contest the jungle of Alliance, or if they do the dual lanes like you say, you run an off-lane Windrunner, you run an Alchemist on the top lane, do you try and run a full aggressive tri-lane, but do you do it with the Alchemist as a core, or do you do it with a Windrunner as a core and then run SK Venomance as support? Like, what are we looking at from this lineup?
Well, that's just it. The ambiguity is what makes it so good.
Yeah.
Because right now, Alliance are like, okay, well, we have a Chen. That pretty much means we have to defensively jungle, because nobody in their right mind wants to go aggressive against what could potentially be a Venomancer plus anything lane. He can just Plague Ward block the camps, and then Chen can't do anything. Like, you just never get any creeps. So that is pretty much thrown out the window for Alliance. There's no way they're doing that. And Fnatic, they last been out the Juggernaut, so they realize that, hey, our weakness right now is the fact that we don't have any real physical damage dealers until the Alchemist starts getting farm, if he's played as a carry, which we still don't know if that's going to be the case or not. So for Alliance, they need their carry as well, and it's going to be a Gyrocopter, the newly and improved Gyrocopter as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he got a new paint job, but again, you guys can't see it on the overlay screen.
Yeah, that's the old-looking gyro.
Ones,
This is the new gyro. His mustache is even grander.
And they end things up with the Leshrac.
Wow. Okay.
But let's talk about Sand King Leshrac, because a bit more than a year ago, you couldn't go a game without seeing that lane.
True
because
that.
that was before the Edict nerf, where they put a cast point on it, and you could just go to a lane, land double stun, get kill, secure towers, because that's just what the hero adds to the lineup right now. It's just the added push. So we're likely to see the 4-4-0, which is just max Split Earth, max Edict. You get 1 or 2 kills, you push for a tower.